The stalemate in Washington drags on as the government shutdown enters a third day. A White House meeting between President Obama and top congressional leaders failed to produce any results last night. In fact, it may have made things worse. A GOP source telling CNN that neither side discussed any kind of compromise. And the bickering in the nation's capital comes as millions of Americans deal with the fallout. Among them, clinical trial patients at the National Institutes of Health who now must wait until the shutdown ends to receive care. And that includes about 30 children. And when CNN's Dana Bash asked Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid about Congress's ability to at least find common ground for them, she got this fiery response.
You all talked about children with cancer unable to go to clinical trials. The House is presumably going to pass a bill that funds at least the NIH. Given what you said, will you at least pass that? And if not, aren't you playing the same political games that Republicans are?
What right do they have to pick and choose what part of government is going to be funded? It's obvious what's going on here. You talk about reckless and irresponsible. Wow.
But if you can help one child who has cancer, why wouldn't you do it?
Listen.
Because that Head Start mom will never do it.
Why pick one against the other?
Why would we want to do that?
Yeah.
I have 1,100 people at Nellis Air Force Base that are sitting home. They have a few problems of their own. This is to have someone of your intelligence suggest such a thing. Maybe means you're irresponsible and reckless. Yes.
Okay, so Jason Johnson is an HLN contributor and political science professor at Hiram College. Amy Kremer is chairwoman of the Tea Party Express. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Okay, so Jason, I'll start with you. So the Democrats, aren't they being a little hypocritical here because they passed a resolution to pay service members?
I don't think so. Look, the whole point is that the entire...
Harry Reid said was awful.
I will never defend Harry Reid for anything. I mean, that's clear. But the idea is we need to fund the entire government. The idea is that this started because the Republicans want to defund or repeal Obamacare. If they would just get off of that right now and make that an issue in 2014 instead of holding the entire government and the entire world economy hostage, we wouldn't have this problem. So pitting kids against veterans, all that's unnecessary. The Republican Party needs to accept what's going on in this country and move forward.
But Amy, we know that a lot of conservative Republicans kind of like that approach right now and they think that that's compromising.
Well, I mean, actually, I have to disagree with you because Congress has gotten used to passing these huge budgets or omnibus bills, and that's not the way it was intended. They should be passing 13 appropriation bills. Harry Reid says, what gives them the right to do this? I'll tell you what gives them the right to do it. The Constitution. Our founding fathers set it up so that the House controls the purse strings.
It's a history lesson. It's a history lesson when you guys don't get your way.
No, it's not.
You just invented this a couple weeks ago.
Invented what a couple weeks ago? The Constitution or the founding fathers gave the House the control of the purse strings?
The Constitution also shows that when a presidential election occurs and something has been ruled to be constitutional by the Supreme Court, you allow the law to go through, and that would solve the problem.
Also, the real problem is Obamacare. The American people don't like it, and I'm tired of hearing that, oh, he was reelected. Well, guess what? Had all this bad information come out last year before November, I think we might have had a very different result.
In a 2-year presidential election, I think it's about time to give it up. And like I said, the best way to operate is to let this bill go out, and if it fails, then you run on 2014.
Let's pause on this argument because we've been hearing this argument for a couple days now, right? And even some Republicans are tired of this same argument and saying it's time to move on and open up the government. In fact, here's what one House Republican had to say about the influence of the Tea Party on the House over the last couple of months. Let's listen.
As part of this problem in this whole group that I referred to, this has been ongoing for 3 years, where they've continued to block our leadership for 3 years to get 218 votes.
The Lemming Caucus, you're talking about Tea Party caucus.
Well, it's not Tea Party caucus, not at all. It's a Lemming Caucus. It's guys who meet privately. They're always conspiring. It's mostly just about power, and it's just gotten us nowhere.
Okay, so Amy, you're Tea Party, so you're on the hot seat.
I mean, these people were elected by their constituents to go to Washington and do exactly what they're doing. They want to shrink the size of government. We want to shrink the size of government, rein in the out-of-control spending and the regulations. And it's Republicans that have contributed, these moderate Republicans have contributed to the out-of-control spending and regulations, just like the Democrats have. You can't blame it all on the Democrats. Republicans have done it too. So we have elected fiscal conservatives. That's what we're focused on, and they're doing exactly what they were elected to do.
Okay, so Jason, I'm going to ask you you about the president. He calls this meeting, congressional leaders come on to the White House, we're going to talk, and nothing happens. In fact, he says, I'm not going to negotiate. Why bother to have that meeting? Why bother to talk later this morning? It's not helping.
Because I think at this particular point, everyone's saying, this is now part of the debt ceiling fight. We need to work on all of these issues. And I think the bigger problem that we're looking at here, all you have to do is just fund the government. It's not that complicated. They knew this was going to happen. They waited months because they thought the president, like he did in 2011, was going to blink. And when the president actually said, no, I got elected on this, this is a policy that I'm going to put forward, they decided that they were going to hold the entire nation hostage. And they don't want to admit that, and that's why we keep spinning around in circles.
But wait, we're not holding them hostage. We've passed continuing resolutions. That means completely funding the government. Harry Reid is holding us hostage. Harry Reid and Barack Obama. What kind of leadership is that?
On John Boehner's behalf.
No, it's not. It's the president and Harry Reid.
Thank you both for being with me, for fighting the fight. Amy Kremer, Jason Johnson.